Hey guys, this is Jam of JamOnline.ph, and today we're gonna take a review of this one. This is the ASUS ROG Ally. This is the newest handheld here in the Philippines, and as of this recording, this one is not yet available in the market. So yes, I'm pretty excited for this one. So as you can see in here, we got here the ASUS ROG Ally. Before we proceed to our a full review of the software and everything, let's take a closer look first about on its hardware and how it compares to the competitors in the market. So first, we got here the ASUS ROG Ally, and we got here the there we go. We got here the Nintendo Switch, and there is the Asus ROG Ally. You can clearly see the difference between the two when it comes to the size and also when it comes to the thickness. So yes, if you think that the Nintendo Switch is too big, well, the Asus ROG Ally is a lot bigger. And of course, the biggest competitor of this one, and probably the reason why there's an Asus ROG Ally, the Steam Deck, as you can see in here, this one is a lot bigger. That's why the feel and the weight of the Asus ROG Ally is just perfect for me. But yet we still got here a large display. Speaking of display, the Asus ROG Ally comes with a 7-inch Full HD 16 by 9 display. It's an IPS level display, and we also got here an AMD FreeSync Premium. And the best part about this one is that it comes with a 120Hz refresh rate. Not all handhelds, actually, I think this is the only handheld that comes with a 120Hz refresh rate. But I do have some comments with the refresh rate that we're gonna talk about later in the performance. So first, let's talk about the ergonomics of this one. So as you can see with this one has a very different design, different feel compared to most handhelds in the market. First, this one does have surprisingly a really good ergonomics. This one has a very comfortable design. The curves in here, the texture here at the back, it adds to the grip and also to the ergonomics of this handheld device. I'm actually surprised that this one feels good in the hand. It's very comfortable in my hand even after an hour of using this one, playing on the ROG Ally for an hour straight, and I didn't feel any strain in my hands, which is really good. So I'm really happy with the design of this one. Just a small addition, we got here the Asus ROG logo over here, just a nice touch. Also got here some lines, of course some grills over here, and of course we got here the analogs, the D-pad, of course some special buttons over here, the XY AB button similar to the Xbox, the shoulder buttons over here, and of course we got here the ports, the grill for the fan, and of course another grill for the fan over here, the Asus ROG logo. And unlike the Steam Deck, this only has two back buttons, single buttons for each side. And I do love the touch in here, the half slice design of this one. I actually prefer having an Asus ROG Ally if it comes in black. The white one looks good, but I would love it if this one has a black color. Now for the ports, this one comes with a different kind of port because this one comes with the XG mobile port. Actually, this one is a USB Type-C port. This is where you can also connect your charger and also your dongle if you want to use it in desktop mode. Actually, I have here a dongle, and all I need to do is to plug this one in. I can use my mouse on the desktop mode of the Asus ROG Ally. But of course, it would be better if you can plug in your keyboard with this one. So you could use the Asus ROG Ally in keyboard and mouse mode so you can play other games or even use it as your personal computer. But you know what? I would love to have the Asus ROG Ally to have a stand similar to the Nintendo Switch, so I could use it anywhere. And with the stand, I could even use it in desktop mode as long as I have my wireless keyboard and mouse with me. Let's go back to the ports of this one. So we got here the headphone jack, of course the micro SD card slot, the XG mobile slot, the volume rocker, and here's the power button that also serves as the fingerprint scanner of this device. So as for this one, you can plug in your external GPU as long as you're gonna use the XG mobile station, which is available only from ASUS. So yeah, they do have their own ecosystem of external GPU. So if you've read my or seen my review of the ASUS ROG Flow, which is a pretty good laptop, well, you could use that eGPU on this one. There are a lot of available eGPUs for XG Mobile. They have a Radeon GPU. They also have an RTX GPU. So it depends on what GPU that you want, and it also depends on your budget. But here's the thing, if you're gonna use an eGPU, it's better to use an eGPU if you're planning on using the ASUS ROG Ally in desktop mode. So if you wanna, use this one outside, okay, play with it. And then once you go home, you can plug in the XG Mobile that is connected to your external monitor. So that is something that gamers would love to have, a single device that they can use anywhere. You can use it whenever you're traveling, and then once you're at home, you can use it for playing games, and you can even set it at the highest settings possible with the more powerful eGPUs from ASUS. As for the fingerprint scanner, this one is really useful. I actually like using the fingerprint scanner to unlock this device. The Steam Deck doesn't have that one, but yeah, I don't use a lock or a fingerprint scanner or anything for security for my Steam Deck. But yeah, it's a welcome addition to the ASUS ROG Ally. And unlike the Steam Deck, I do miss having a trackpad on this one. Having a trackpad means that I could have a better navigation with Windows. And we're going to talk about Windows and its UI and why I would love to have a trackpad on the ASUS ROG Ally. As for the buttons over here, I actually have some issues with this one. So this one doesn't have the best feel when it comes to touching these buttons, or pressing these buttons rather. It does have, if you've seen other reviews of the ASUS ROG Ally, you might have read before that, or might have seen before that, does have some sticky buttons. I do feel that this one has a inferior buttons compared to the Steam Deck. But I do love here the analogs over here, and of course there's the RGB colors. Okay, there we go. So it's unlocked the RGB colors over here that you can control with the ASUS ROG Armor Crate. I do love here that this one comes with a convex shape. So palubog siya dito, so it does have a better grip or a better feel when playing games. I actually just placed my thumb over here, and I do got here a better navigation when it comes to the analogs. As for the D-pad, I'm actually just fine with this one. We also got here the different buttons for the select and start for this one. So as you can see, this one is very similar to the Xbox controls. I just use start and select because I'm a PlayStation guy. Anyway, we also got here the command center. Basically, it allows you to see the different functionalities, a quick toggle for different switches like the turbo mode, the real-time monitor if you want to add that, the CPU, GPU usage, the wattage and FPS and everything for gaming. We also got here the control for the AMD RSR for, so you could save more battery, and of course, upscale the games that you want, so you could have better power consumption, better FPS, and of course the refresh rate. You can also take screenshots, the FPS limiter, and everything. I actually prefer this one, having the control mode. So some games doesn't have a really good support for controllers, so I could just press this one for the gamepad. So this one activates the gamepad mode or the desktop mode if I wanted to, so I could use the analog for like a mouse. But yeah, I barely use the desktop mode for the control mode of the ASUS ROG Ally. Now, this one is the Armory Crate, but we're going to talk about the Armory Crate later. And I do have a lot of comments when it comes to the Armory Crate SE of the ASUS ROG Ally. The shoulder buttons does feel great thanks to the texture at the back, especially when I'm playing games like Forza Horizon 5. While I do miss the other two back buttons on this one compared to my Steam Deck, I barely use the back buttons here on the ASUS ROG Ally, but I'm thankful that they still have here the back buttons that I can even customize for my other games. As for the special buttons over here, I would prefer if this one does have a Windows button, because sometimes I just love to have that Windows button so I could go to the desktop immediately, just like this one, because sometimes I don't I don't like using the Armory Crate SE that is included here on the ASUS ROG Ally. Now, let's go to the display of this one. So as you can see, the display is quite good. It's a 7-inch display. We got here the ROG logo, some bezels over here. It's not bad. Actually, I like the display of this one. It's good, it's colorful, and this one has a pretty good brightness. I can even use the ASUS ROG Ally outside. Now, here's the thing. There's the 120 Hz refresh rate. We all know that the higher refresh rate means that you get to consume more battery. And that's a bad thing for a handheld device because this one is meant to be used outside. It's meant to be portable. Now, here's the issue with this one. Yes, we do got here 120 Hz refresh rate. Yes, it's nice to have a 120 Hz refresh rate, but the processor of this one is an AMD Ryzen Z1 Extreme processor. And if you're planning on playing the latest games at the highest settings, you won't be able to maximize the 120 Hz refresh rate. So if you're gonna use this one, it's better to use it at the lowest settings and for the older games. So it's nice to have the 120 Hz, but I would prefer using it in 60 Hz refresh rate to save more battery and of course and still get a pretty good experience on the ASUS ROG Ally. Now, here's the tricky part about this review, the battery. Actually, I've been using the ASUS ROG Ally for 2 weeks now, I think, or 3 weeks. But there's this one thing that I'm having really hard time reviewing this one, and it's the battery. Why do I find it really hard to review the battery? Well, because the ASUS ROG Ally keeps on having updates on the Armory Crate and the BIOS and everything, and the battery keeps on changing. The experience of the ASUS ROG Ally keeps on changing. But here's the thing. Most of the time, I play Honkai Star Rail on this one. I've been getting an hour and 30 minutes when playing that game at turbo mode or at performance mode. But whenever you're playing heavier games, let's say Red Dead Redemption 2 or Cyberpunk, you get an hour on this one. Yes, it doesn't have a lot when it comes dun sa battery life of the ASUS ROG Ally. But I highly suggest that you get a power bank with this one and always bring the charger with you all the time, because if you're planning on playing longer hours on the ASUS ROG Ally, well, you'll be getting a shorter battery life compared to the Steam Deck, which I think is the biggest deal breaker for some ROG Ally fans if they're picking between the ASUS ROG Ally and also the Steam Deck. And I think one of the issues is because of the 120 Hz display, and now I'm setting it up at 60 Hz most of the time, and also the AMD Ryzen Z1 Extreme processor inside. Now, let's talk about the performance of this one. So the ASUS ROG Ally comes with the brand new AMD Ryzen Z1 Extreme processor. The variant that we got comes with a Z1 Extreme. And yes, it will come with a more affordable variant with an AMD Ryzen Z1 processor, which is, of course, a lot slower when it comes to the CPU and also the GPU. And if you're gonna compare the ASUS ROG Ally to the Steam Deck, well, it's pretty clear that the ASUS ROG Ally has a upper hand when it comes to performance. So whenever we talk about performance on the handheld devices, well, the ASUS ROG Ally is the most powerful handheld device that we have right now, thanks to the AMD Ryzen Z1 Extreme processor on this one. And whenever I'm playing games, you could actually see that the real-time monitor has a temp of up to 95 degrees Celsius, which is pretty hot, but sometimes I wouldn't even feel it in my hand whenever I'm holding it like this. Hindi naman siya nakakapaso, so I'm actually fine with that one. And ASUS is promising that this one has a pretty good thermal system that is called the Zero Gravity Thermal System with a dual fan design. You've probably seen some reviews before or some videos before that the ASUS ROG Ally does come with a lot of thermal pipes sa loob and also the fans. And yes, it does keep the ROG Ally cool, and actually like that despite having a powerful performance, we're getting here a cooler thermals here with the ASUS ROG Ally. Yes, this device is already powerful, but it's not really powerful compared to your desktop, so I still suggest that you guys use the AMD RSR, which is located here at the command center, which upscales your games so you could have a better performance whenever you're playing games on the ASUS ROG Ally. Now for the memory, it comes with a 512 gigs NVMe M.2 SSD. And if you're planning on upgrading this one, I actually like that this one comes with the Phillips screws in here, so you could easily upgrade the ASUS ROG Ally if you wanted to. So if you want to upgrade, well, just get your screwdrivers, remove this one, and you could easily replace the SSD of this one. However, the SSD is the tricky part because this one comes with a 2230 SSD, which is a little bit small, and for now, it's a little bit expensive. The SSD is similar to your Steam Deck, so if you have a Steam Deck already, that won't be a problem as you can transfer your SSD to the ASUS ROG Ally. But of course, the Windows and the software and everything of this one is different because they have optimized it for the ASUS ROG Ally. Now, let's proceed to the games that I played on the ASUS ROG Ally. So I won't get too technical when it comes to the games because whenever I update the ASUS ROG Ally, the performance and everything actually is being changed on this one. It's getting better and better every update on the ASUS ROG Ally. So with Honkai Star Rail, which is one of the newest games on smartphones, and the ASUS ROG Ally, we set it up at the highest settings possible. It's only up to 60 FPS on the ROG Ally. I'm not sure why. So at 30 watts, we're getting an average FPS at 43. And at 15 watts, it's at 33. And at 25 watts, it's at 38. With Horizon Zero Dawn, we've been getting 36 FPS on 30 watts, 21 FPS on 15 watts, and 38 FPS on 25 watts. So they do have a small difference when it comes to 30 watts and 25 watts. For Cyberpunk 2077, we've set it up at the ultimate graphic settings with no ray tracing, of course. There's the 30 watts. There's the 30 watts at 26 FPS, 14 FPS for the 15 watts, and 26 FPS for the 25 watts. And lastly, for Forza Horizon 5, we set it up at the ultimate settings. At 30 watts, we've been getting it at 27 FPS, 20 FPS for 15 watts, and 29 FPS at 25 watts. I'm actually confused with this one. Whenever I chose 30 watts, well, it's plug-in, that's why it's 30 watts. You can only activate 30 watts when it's plugged in on the command center, but of course you could do a lot of tinkering if you want to enable it at a higher TDP. So if you're planning on using the ASUS ROG Ally on turbo mode, that's 25 watts when it's not plugged in, or 30 watts when it is plugged in, well, you won't have any problem with the ASUS ROG Ally. You'll be getting a very similar performance whether it's plugged in or not. However, if you're planning on using at 15 watts, you could see the very big deep in FPS, but we do get a lot of battery. But if you're just playing games like, let's say, Stardew Valley, I actually think that performance mode is more than enough. You could even set it at the silent mode, which is at 9 watts, which will save you more battery, so you could play longer hours on the ASUS ROG Ally. And here's the thing about the ASUS ROG Ally. I do like the performance of this one, like what I've said earlier, and the thermos is quite good whenever you're holding the device. But the problem with me in here is that we got here the lack of memory when it comes to SSD. So I highly suggest that you get a micro SD card slot, that you get the micro SD card rather, like a 1TB or 512 to install your Steam games on that one. Here's the thing, this is a Windows device. The Windows is not yet optimized for handheld devices like this. However, when you compare it to the Steam Deck, as you can see, this one is really optimized. Yes, we do experience some bugs on this one, but the UI and everything, the touchscreen and everything, this one is really optimized for the gamepad. But with Windows 11 specifically on the ASUS ROG Ally, yes, we do got here a more optimized feel. We do got here a better UI on this one with the Armory Crate, but it's not yet perfect. For example, whenever we're going to the desktop mode, you want to check out the files. There we go. You still have to do that hold and tap and hold to enable the options over here. It's not yet optimized. As you can see, the spaces between the icons and everything, if you have a fat fingers, you would have problems in touching this one. So yeah, you could use actually the analog, but it's annoying that you have to use the analog and also the trigger for this one just to navigate. That's why I prefer having a trackpad on this one. But yeah, this is Windows. It's not yet optimized for a gamepad for touchscreen like this one. Now, for the Armory Crate SE, I actually just updated the Armory Crate SE last night, and we've been getting a better performance. Previous previous days ago, the Armory Crate SE is filled with a lot of bugs, and I mean a lot of bugs, and it was annoying to use. However, after the update last night, I've been getting better performance and a better experience on the Armory Crate SE. I could even refresh the games that I have by just wiping down to the ASUS ROG Ally. Of course, just to give you a short tour about the ASUS ROG Ally, we got here the game library, which is the UI that you will see once you turn on the ASUS ROG Ally. You get here the settings. You could even configure the controls to the gamepad mode and also desktop mode. So as you can see in the gamepad mode, you could, assign the buttons that you want to map. That is a really good experience that we're getting in here when it comes to the mapping. We got here the left stick, the control for the dead zones and everything, the right stick, the triggers, and even the vibration on this part of the ASUS ROG Ally. And I'm telling you, whenever I'm playing games on this one, Forza Horizon, I've been getting better vibration on this one. So I really like that on the ASUS ROG Ally. Of course, we got here the desktop mode if you want to configure also the trigger, right stick, and everything. So that is the control mode. If you remember, I mentioned earlier that there's the command center, which is this button on the ASUS ROG Ally. So once I press that one, you can see the command center. But did you know that you could actually customize that one? You could add the operating mode. Of course, there's the operating mode whenever you want to set it at turbo mode, performance mode, or at silent mode. Of course, the FPS limiter. If you want to add more, just press the add button, and you could add the aura, game visual, LED brightness, airplane mode, and a lot more. It gives you the shortcut for everything that you need on the ASUS ROG Ally. And in my experience, this is way better and has less bugs compared to the Aya Neo that I've owned before. The Aya Neo UI is just filled with a lot of bugs. This one is a lot better. As you can see, it overlays on top of the windows. Whenever I'm playing games, I could press command center and it overlays on top of the game. Doesn't distract me too much because I just press this one and I just want a quick toggle for the refresh rate and everything, for the keyboard and everything. And of course, for the content, as you can see, we already have the games on the desktop. We could actually browse and download the game. So you need to connect your Xbox app, Epic Games app, EA app, whatever. So for this ASUS ROG Ally, I've connected my Epic Games app, my Steam app, and the Xbox app for the Armory Crate. So you could display the games over here. And of course, we got here the media gallery, which basically shows you the screenshots that I took on the ASUS ROG Ally. So I actually have the take screenshot button here at the command center. We got here the system specifications over here. As you can see, these are the main specifications. And of course, we got here the storage, the external micro SD, and of course the local storage and everything. So you could actually do everything with the Armory Crate as long as you're doing the basic things. The update center, as you can see, you could update everything that you need, the device, the components, and everything. So it lets you do everything on the Armory Crate basically. But my favorite part actually is that we got here the control for the lighting. As you can see, we got here the RGB, so you got to control it, the lighting. So rainbow, the aura sync if you want to sync it with your other ASUS ROG products, the static, the breathing if you want. In my case, I could do anything, but I just prefer having the rainbow colors, so you could see the RGB colors. But I would love if the light that we have in here also has lights on the buttons, because whenever I'm playing games at night, I couldn't see the X, Y, A, and B buttons because there's no backlit buttons over here. I would love it if next time, for the next generation, if they have the backlight for the X, Y, A, and B buttons along with the buttons over here. Now, the ASUS ROG Ally is a pretty interesting Windows device. It isn't perfect yet, but we do got here a powerful performance, a really good hardware, a really good ergonomics. I love the design of this one. However, the battery isn't perfect yet. I'm actually having problems with using this one at sleep mode. So whenever I press the sleep button, whenever I'm playing games, sometimes it gets disconnected. Unlike the Steam Deck, which has a better sleep capabilities, but surprisingly, the AMD Ryzen Z1 Extreme processor does have a pretty good power consumption when it comes to sleeping, because whenever I turn it off or whenever I turn it into sleep mode, doesn't consume too much battery on the ASUS ROG Ally. So overall, if you want a great Windows handheld device, well, the ASUS ROG Ally might be the one for you. We do not have yet the price for the Philippine market as of this recording, but if you want something powerful, then you should consider this one, the ASUS ROG Ally. But if you're still, a fan of SteamOS, well, you could probably go for the Steam Deck. It's a lot cheaper, but if you really need something that is future-proof, you could probably install SteamOS on this one in the future. But if you want something that is powerful, which is perfect for gamers, well, I highly recommend the ASUS ROG Ally. In my original video, I wasn't even recommending this one because of the bugs that I've been experiencing with the Armory Crate, but ASUS has done a really good job in updating the Armory Crate SE, in upgrading my experience with the ASUS ROG Ally thanks to the updates at the Armory Crate SE of this device. So yeah, guys, that's it for our video of the ASUS ROG Ally. So if you like this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, and of course, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and be sure to click that subscribe button along with that bell button to get notified of our latest videos here in my YouTube channel. So once again, I am JamsJamOnline.ph. Thank you for watching, and see you guys again in my next video.